so I wrote myself some notes. If you recall, I used to use a legal pad, but I couldn't find it.
Jeez Louise!
So when you've heard enough, just yell stop.
Stop!
Paige and Ed for all they've done. I understand Ed is the one who came up with this wild idea. Thank you very much, Ed. And I understand that Paige made it happen after Ed had the idea. And thank you. I've been in contact with both of them from Tucson many times over the internet, which is kind of new to me. Both my wife and I think it's kind of evil. While we're speaking of my wife, I'd like to introduce her to you, Carol. I'd also like to acknowledge some of the past band directors, starting with Bill Wicker. Bill, I owe you an apology for all those years that I was at Bellevue. It wasn't until near the end that I knew that you'd been the original band director here. And you used to come up and talk to me about the band, and fortunately there were compliments, but I didn't realize you had so much background and power when you were giving those compliments. So I really, in all seriousness, my apologies for not realizing that.
One of my little secrets.
Yes. Before or after Bill, and I understand Bill was here, what, 57 to 64? And after Bill left in 1964 to 73 was Bob Brown, who was happened to be the stepfather of Leo Dodd, the band director at Interlake High School. He was a very good friend. In fact, he's living in Tucson also. The story about Bob Brown, my first home football game here at Bellevue in 1974, and I was living in Kirkland, and an old man, probably someone about my age now, showed up at my front door to wish me well at the home football game, and he never did actually tell me that he was had been the band director at Bellevue High School. But as years went on, I figured it out. I may be kind of a slow learner there, I'm afraid. Following Bob Brown from 1973 to 74 was Gary Strickfad, and I believe he was here 1 year. And then I arrived in 74. When I arrived in 74, there were, I believe, 24 students in the band, and I understood the year before they tried to spell Bellevue unsuccessfully. Oh, seriously. I arrived in August and spent all of August making phone calls and sitting in people's living rooms trying to balance a cup of coffee and a cookie and trying to talk their sons or daughters into being in the Bellevue band. And we have several of those people here today who were in that first band, and if I miss your names, please help me out. Mark Kelly, who was a band president. Diz Carroll, who is showing his hand over there to Mark Kelly. Keith, not Keith.
Kevin.
Ferguson, help me out.
Glenn.
Glenn Ferguson, because he had a brother named Keith.
He did, that's
yeah,
right.
Glenn Ferguson. I can't see back that far. Help me out. Kevin Fay.
Yes.
Yeah, Kevin, were you in that first band?
Yes.
Okay. Any case, they were all in that first band, so by the time school started, we had 69 people in the band. And they and myself are very, very excited about it, and I want to thank you individuals, and there are some others. Dr. Deborah Kelly, who actually is going to be at the brewery tonight, is a doctorate of oceanology at the University of Washington as a professor, and she was also one of those individuals that was on the Denmark trip. But I want to thank you folks for getting a very young man from El Paso, Texas at age 34, teaching him how to be a high school band director. We had a lot of fun together.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're welcome.
Maybe you had more fun than we did. And then in I left in 1990 to go to Los Angeles to teach in a school there, and thanks to the governor, I can't remember who the governor, I think it was Governor, was it Reagan or was it Schwarzenegger? I don't know who, anyways, the governor decided not to fund salaries, and so I had to come back. But anyway, I turned the program over to David Holmes, who had been my assistant band director for a couple of years. And so David Holmes was doing the band from 1990 to 92. And then in 1992, I was asked to come back, and then I was there from 1992 to 97. And Following that, Tony Luna came in 97 till 2000. And then from 2000 to 2001, Julie Rogers is here. Raise your hand or stand up, Julie. And then we all know Vince Caruso again. If you'll stand up, Vince Caruso was here from 2001 to 2010. And then Ed George, the president. Ed, where are you? An excellent jazz band. I'd also like to acknowledge some folks that if those folks had not been around, we would not have had the quality of band that we had. And that is Ray Gwell here?
No, I couldn't make it.
Okay. Ray Gwell was at Chinook Middle School and elementary schools. He's also a chaperone on one of our trips. And we took alternate trips to Los Angeles with either the orchestra, I did the orchestra also, the orchestra and jazz band, or the band and jazz band. And we always traveled either by airplane, bus, or taxi. And the reason we traveled by taxi sometimes, because on one of our trips from Los Angeles, we stopped in Santa Cruz for that wonderful beach amusement park. And our 2 or 3 buses left late at night after the amusement park had closed and headed towards San Jose, where they would change buses and drivers. And when we arrived in San Jose, there was a phone call that one of our chaperones had missed the bus. And that was Ray Gwell. And so Ray had taken a taxi from Santa Cruz, California, up to San Jose. And, here again, without Ray Gwell, who was such a fine teacher, we would not have had the caliber of young musicians. I would not have had that caliber to work with. Carolyn Francis was at Bellevue Junior High School. Jerry Bailey at Hyatt Junior High School. I know we had some of the students from there. Walt Tempe at Oldham Middle School. Michael Chapin, I know, was very involved with all the elementaries around these schools. And here again, without all these folks, the program would not have been so successful. And I just want to make that acknowledgement and thank them all if you give them a hand. Down the second page, and we're closing in on it. As I said, we alternated trips then every year, either with the orchestra or the band, to Los Angeles. Since I taught in Los Angeles for 11 years, we usually spent about a week and played in different high schools and then spent time at the amusement park, which was, I didn't realize at the time, but that was their goal, not the concerts at the schools. Then in 1982, we founded the Bellevue Jazz Festival. I got something in the mail. I was single at the time. I got something in the mail that for $5,000 we could have Buddy Rich come in and play. And I went and talked to the principal, John Price, who was a fantastic principal. And whenever you went to John Price and asked him something, he didn't give you all these reasons why you couldn't do it. He gave reasons why we should do it. He said, like, can you come up with the money? And I was single and I had $5,000 in my savings account, and so I wrote a check to the Buddy Rich folks and put a down payment on Buddy Rich. Actually, that's the total amount, what they wanted for Buddy Rich to come. And then I started thinking, well, how are we going to make sure we make enough money and enough audience? And so John Price was actually kind of instrumental.